Yo, welcome everybody to this dark story race between Aura and Meltrs, however these guys prefer to be addressed as.
I believe Meltrs likes Melters. But my name is Amber Cyprin, this is Draco Dan. We'll be commentating this race for you this afternoon, or morning, wherever you may be.
Indeed, and we are about ready to kick it off, I believe. Yep, looks like it.
There we go. Melters, it looks like they have the RTA time for Aura. For anyone who's watching, this is meant to be timed in-game time.
We can address this behind the scenes, yeah.
Yeah. But the reason why they've chosen to judge this race by in-game time is due to the load difference between Melters and Aura. Melters actually has fairly slow loads in comparison to Aura, which would give Aura a unfair RTA advantage, so they agreed to do this via in-game time. But our first stage here is Iron Gate. You play as Dr. Eggman here with the very stiff mech movement mechanics. So you'll see them... Oh, and Melters takes a death in Iron Gate. Oh my goodness. Not sure what happened to him there, but that's a significant time loss as he has to sit through that roughly 40-second elevator second time in a row. It looks to me like auraace is actually using the ring route strategy, which is going to involve having 80 rings when you pass this checkpost here. Oh! So you actually have a set amount of time before that elevator hits the bottom of the stage, so that you can actually proceed through the door. And what he's going to do is he's going to pass through this checkpoint once it reaches the bottom, and he has 81 rings, which will give him the speed shoes, which saves him about a second or so running through the corridor to the following door to unlock.
That's right, yeah, like, Iron Gate isn't a particularly technical stage, but it's generally just separated into a couple of distinct segments since the elevators cut your pace going through the stage. No matter how fast you want to just maintain a consistent pace through Iron Gate, it's not something that's really possible due to the elevators being there.
Yes.
So, Aura, unfortunately for Melters, is carrying a significant lead out of the first stage due to the aforementioned unfortunate death on Melters' side. It's definitely not guaranteed that Aura's going to be able to maintain that lead, though, depending on how the rest of the run goes. There is a lot of challenge between this point and the end of the run, as well as a lot of RNG, and starting this off with the first boss of Dark Story, Hotshot, which is played with Shadow. This is about as simple as the bosses get in this category, though, since you can just land 3 quick hits on the cockpit, as you're seeing Aura do right now, and then the last hit actually wants to ideally be landed from those boxes, from in the air, as it makes the death animation of the boss slightly shorter.
Yes, and we have Melters leaving Iron Gate now to go fight Hotshot himself. I'm not entirely sure about Aura's playstyle with the treasure hunting stages. I haven't seen too many of his runs, but Melters is a very strong Rouge player as it stands, so hopefully he'll be able to make up some time if he gets some good RNG.
Looks like opting to take a restart here on the first piece that he got. There are a few free pieces that the player can always be looking out for at the start of Dry Lagoon. So, he's gone towards his first piece now. Hopefully, what both players really just ideally want to see in Dry Lagoon, if they don't get any free pieces, which is of course not guaranteed, they'd ideally just like to not be forced to go into the Oasis jail area.
That is correct. That is a very slow area. You can clip into it, but you certainly don't want a Piece 2 in the jail area, because then you have to find your way back out. Piece 3 is okay, but obviously not optimal. And it looks like Aura has avoided having to deal with the jail piece. That reset that he did at the very beginning paid off.
Melters, meanwhile, trying to climb a tree, but the vertexes on that tree kind of punishing him a little bit. But looks like he's got it, so that's a free piece for him. And he's got his first piece, quote-unquote first piece, very close by. And judging by these ranges, it's very unlikely to have Yeah, they are very unlikely to have a last piece in the Oasis jail, so that's not a bad piece set at all for Meltrs. The game's really trying to make up a little bit of time from that Iron Gate death, it seems.
Yeah, definitely looks like it here. We have Sandocean here on Aura's stream. He just reset at the very beginning here to be able to reset the cycles in the stage, as it is a very cycle-based stage that even the slightest misjump can lead to a time loss, because once you touch that quicksand, that's it, you're dead.
That's right, yeah, and Aura's foregoing the fastest strat here, which is called sandwalking. I'm not sure if Meltrs is going to attempt it himself. Oh, Meltrs actually missing the first jump. So taking deaths at the start of Sandocean is fairly common, but they only cost a few seconds each since it is at the very start. And both of our racers are deciding to forego the aforementioned sandwalking strat. It is one of the most difficult strats in Dark Story, and it honestly doesn't save as much time as you'd expect such a difficult skip. It saves like in the region of 10 seconds, I believe, no more than that.
Right, and if you can do a deathless, what we call a deathless first cycle, then that's honestly very acceptable. I would take a deathless first cycle over trying to repeatedly attempt sandwalking, because you can lose a lot of time from attempting that multiple times in a run.
Yeah, like essentially the time lost from missing sandwalking once negates any of the time save you would have gained from it, so you'd need to basically get it second try just to break even.
That is correct. So you will see occasionally very high-level runners attempt it once in a race and then leave it alone, because at that point they're breaking even if they just go do first cycle. It looks like Aura has had a pretty uneventful Sandocean, thankfully, as he clears the last rotating platform and moves on to the last part of the stage. It looks like Meltrs is just about in the clear as well. Although I've been known to see people, including myself, just walk right off and die right before that checkpoint, but he made it, and
it's possible, yeah.
Alright, a very decent 209, I believe, on Aura's side of the screen here.
Yeah, honestly, all things considered, considering that Meltrs does currently have multiple deaths in this run, the time deficit honestly isn't that bad. Like, not too far behind Aura right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Dry Lagoon really helped him out.
We have a Radical Highway on the left here. This is Shadow's first full stage. Shadow's movement is far more dynamic than either Rouge or Eggman's. You'll see a lot of different uses of physics in spin dashing, homing attack, jumps, spin dash jumps, you name it. There's a lot of movement tech behind the Hedgehog of Dark Story.
Absolutely, yeah. In Sonic stages, you're going to see like a lot of huge major skips and glitches, but Shadow's stages are pretty much more reliant on using the fundamentals of movement as well as possible.
Absolutely. Dark Story is very much about the fundamentals of movement. It's a very good category, I feel, for somewhat new to intermediate runners to really get a better feel for the fundamentals if they've been spending a lot of time learning major skips in Hero Story, because that'll actually improve times on both ends. We have Meltrs here. This is the platform cycle you have to worry about in Radical Highway, whether or not you hit those springs on one of those platforms lowering. It's much faster, otherwise you have to hit that spring like 2 or 3 times.
Meltrs is going for a relatively risky strat with the metal box there as well, considering how easy it is to miss and how little time it actually does save.
Yes, collision here is, in this game, a very loose guideline or a strong suggestion. As you'll see, those rails that he was just on the suspension bridge, they look very wide. Their hitboxes are actually quite narrow, so it's very easy to just phase right through that rail. We have Aura coming up here on the end of the stage as well, and Meltrs is not too far behind, actually, and we have another RNG stage coming up, so that can change as well.
It looks like Aura is maintaining approximately a 20-second lead right now. I mean, as these two have agreed to use in-game time, it's not 100% clear just by looking at their relative game feeds, but we do now have the timers that we can use to compare to the two racers. So your metric for comparing who's actually in front is the timers below the game feeds rather than who is actually further through the game on the game feeds themselves. So we do have egg quarters here, the second hunting stage. Both runners are likely going to be starting this stage out by going straight towards the blue room to pick up their upgrade, the pick nails, which allows Rouge to dig into the ground, which is required. It's not skippable. And depending on where the pieces end up, it's possible that we're going to see some attempts at death strats as well, which is simply that the runners are going to pick up their first piece, and then after collecting it, they're going to intentionally take a death to respawn in the red room if they feel that it's appropriate to do so. And the objective of that is simply to try and get a piece that is in the red room. Aura has one, but did not opt to use a death strat. So in other words, assuming that the game re-rolled the same piece or a similar piece after grabbing that first piece and taking a death, Aura would have basically just been teleported to where the next piece is. It is very situational, but it can be useful if you get a first piece far away from the starting location.
That is correct. It's usually, if I recall in egg quarters, it's if the first piece spawns in the green room or on the green path, you can easily abuse death strats for the next one to be in the red room. Whereas in Death Chamber for Knuckles, it would be the blue room.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can use it from the green room in Death Chamber as well, but it's more likely from the blue room simply because of the way that all of the piece 2s of the stage are distributed. There's a greater distribution of second pieces in the blue room for Death Chamber, and it may be the opposite for egg quarters, but I'm not entirely sure.
It looks like Meltrs gained a little bit of time on Aura in egg quarters there, as the lead seems to have narrowed to about just over 10 seconds here. But we have Lost Colony on our left, which is Eggman's next mech stage, which introduces the hover upgrade. It allows Eggman to perform a hover while jumping, which introduces the our hover jump or pause hovering mechanic that we'd like to use for our movement here. The method behind that is that what we try to do is we try to land an A input immediately after jumping to be able to gain a little bit of excess height as you are still gaining height from your initial jump. It's very, very it's a very small amount of height that you gain, but it is significant enough based on the geometry of these stages to be able to skip things or achieve distances that otherwise weren't intended to be reached in a quote-unquote casual playthrough. Yeah, so you'll actually see a very good, significant attempt here.
Close, but still made it. Very nice.
Definitely made it. What we do, we pause buffer to be able to get our A inputs as close together as possible, so get it on the closest to next possible frame after your initial jump.
Hover jumping is used like fairly extensively throughout Lost Colony, but it is going to be abused a lot more in the following stage, Weapons Bed.
Yes, that hopefully we'll see a successful attempt at satellite jump, which is a very good example of hover jumping allowing us to do things that the developers didn't think we could, and also another example of collision and walls and solid things in this stage or in this game are just mere suggestions and illusions. But we have this elevator section here, which is a bit of a breather, honestly, as it is mandatory and takes, I believe it's like a 40-second elevator as well, maybe 50 seconds? I can't quite remember.
I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head how long it is, but it is a fixed amount of time for both racers, so there's no opportunity for anyone to lose or indeed gain time on it. It's just a bit of a breather. So Aura coming out with what looks like a 218? Yeah,
yes.
That looks like 218 to me. Meltrs hot on his heels though, so definitely can't let up. Weapons Bed is not a trivial stage because of the number of precise hover jumps required to pull off certain jumps. And then it will be immediately followed up with one of the most hellish RNG segments of the run, Security Hall. And it's entirely possible that if the pace remains the same until Security Hall, it's possible that we could see a swapping of the lead in Security Hall. It can be that severe.
That is absolutely true. Security Hall has a, he just saved it.
So, a good example of what Amber was saying about using pause buffering for as many of these hover jumps as possible, it is possible to just miss inputs altogether, and had Aura committed, I'd say, any longer to trying to go along the intended path, he probably just wouldn't have had enough height to bail out anymore. So it's an opportunity for Meltrs to make a little bit of time.
Yes,
yeah,
oh, he also bails out.
He managed to get the pause inputs correctly, but then just didn't get the actual hover input after unpausing. So that's actually relatively uncommon to see both runners having to bail out of that specific hover jump.
The whole time that you'll see very often in mech stages with long hovers is, like, this is example on Aura's screen here, an example of the camera not quite playing the way we want it to. So you have to, as a runner of this game, learn to adjust to the fixed camera angles, and most of them are very unfriendly. And coming up, we have what I referred to earlier, the satellite jump. There is for some reason, we missed it the first try. Let's see if he gets... Nope, he chose to opt out of it.
It does not save time to go for multiple times, unfortunately, so
yeah.
Just bailing out of it is the correct choice there.
There is a invisible platform above that satellite that you can stand on, which gives you enough height to be able to just reach straight to the goal ring instead of having to detour onto the regular platforms like Aura had to. A 136 is still not bad, especially considering he had to bail out of things, and Meltrs opting to just not try satellite jump at all.
Yeah. Meltrs saved time in a couple of spots throughout this stage, but also had one major mistake halfway through the stage, so they're coming up with pretty similar stage times, it looks like.
Yeah, 136, 138.
Mopping up Tails 1, circle strafing to avoid being shot, and also closing in quickly to keep Tails in the same place. But this is what we mentioned before, security hall coming up here. So Aura definitely entering the stage with what's going to be at least a 20-second lead, but depending how the pieces play, that lead could be entirely gone by the time the stage is over. We're just going to have to wait and see. The gimmick of this stage is that it's separated into 3 different floors with safe colors, blue, yellow, and red, but you can only have one active at any time. So basically, the quality of the time that you're going to get is largely determined by how many safe pieces you have and how many times you need to go up to the top to swap the color that's active.
That is correct. This stage, because of those safes, if Aura were to get 2 safe pieces here, where one, he has to go unlock like a blue safe, and then for his piece 3 has to go unlock a yellow safe, could be incredibly really detrimental, but this is incredible.
Wow, this
oh my god,
is sick. Okay, I don't think he's going to lose the lead here.
No, not at all. This is incredible RNG.
Just losing a little too much height on that screw kick, because to make that strat work, you need to glide right out of the screw kick's peak. Dude, you only have to rotate the control stick once. Don't try and force it more than that. That's the easiest way to miss screw kicks, by just repeatedly spinning the control stick. Just treat it like a quick spin attack in Zelda. Just rotate the control stick once and press B. Simple enough.
Exactly. It looks like Meltrs had to go unlock the red safes for him. It looks like Annie's
struggling to open that safe as well. It's like, it's tricky.
Rouge certainly can't.
So this is, unfortunately, for Meltrs, going to be another time loss. He's got the same last piece as Aura, actually, which is interesting, but he's from much further away. We'll see if his execution getting towards it can be a bit cleaner, though. He's actually, he's taking a different route here, just climbing the sheer wall. And Aura actually, questionable, taking a restart here on Flying Dog, which I actually don't agree with this, because this does not save time. If you miss the first hit, it does not save time to restart the stage to get it again. In fact,
not at all. You can actually still, even if you do miss the first hit or two, you can still activate this AI manipulation from a different corner. It just works a little bit differently.
Yeah. Being fairly conservative with when he's doing his screw kicks there, which I don't necessarily disagree with if you're not incredibly confident about how to get them, as it's very important to get the input correctly, and the way the camera rotates can interfere with how you can actually do it. Meltrs doing the same thing, restarting on getting the quick hit at the start of the fight. Like, I'm gonna have to have words with these guys that this is not actually faster to do. Mainly because when you restart the fight, even going by IGT, you're wasting at least 7 full seconds waiting for the fight to begin after you restart.
Yeah, and Meltrs missing the... he's resetting after missing the out of bounds hit. I definitely don't agree with that there. We have auraace over here on the left in white jungle as well, while Meltrs tries to finish up his flying dog fight, and he's resetting again.
This is not a wise play in general. Like, this strategy for flying dog, I don't agree with at all, unfortunately. Aura, meanwhile, looks like he's having a fairly clean time so far with white jungle. And white jungle is definitely one of the more technical stages in the run, with a lot of slopes, which can do a lot to throw you into the air. And
like
well,
that.
I mean, yeah. As soon as you say something, it's always going to happen. Aura's struggling to get a bit of a loop speed trigger there, actually, to just make it around the loop, but
yeah, that was very strange.
No harm done. This looks like, yep, this is going to be a semi-loop skip using a short wall run there, which is very nice. I always like seeing that.
It's definitely... Oh my goodness. Oof. White jungle's geometry is not treating him well at all.
So this is normally where a player would pick up Shadow's air shoes or the light shoes to be able to use the light dash, but it's not actually necessary. Like, the game pretty much tries to... Oof.
Ooh!
Yeah, the game pretty much tries to force you to get them in this specific spot, pretty much just to take that one light dash trail, but since we can skip that, it's really not necessary for any of the rest of the game. Like, the light shoes are really tacked on for Shadow.
Yeah, they're not necessary in any of his stages. I think the only time they're ever actually necessary in anything is White Jungle Mission 5, which you'll never see in a actual Dark Story race.
Yeah, that's right.
But you could easily just play the vast majority of Sonic Adventure 2 with no upgrades for Shadow whatsoever. Which means that his movement... Oh no, Meltrs taking a death.
Unfortunately, that was caused by... I can tell that that was directly caused by the spin dash being launched at the incorrect angle, which actually gave a, like, negative slope gravity effect, effectively forcing you towards the water instead of away from the water. That's unfortunate, especially considering it caused a game over there.
Yeah, that puts Meltrs at a significant deficit here, as he did game over and had to go back into the stage. Meanwhile, we've got the most memorable cutscene happening.
Yeah, I suppose.
Memorable for better or for worse. But this is actually... He didn't opt to use storage in this fight, which is a mechanic where everything's mapped to the B button in this game, whether it's the light dash, the spin dash, the somersault. What happens here is that if you're pressing B, you hold it down to perform a spin dash, but you tap it to do a somersault. While you're holding it down to queue up a spin dash, you store the hitbox of the somersault, so Shadow's not only technically shorter, so he can go under tight spaces, but it can also deal damage, because he's retaining the properties of the somersault, which would allow him to look like he's walking into Sonic, but he's really not. He's dealing damage because he's technically, quote-unquote, somersaulting.
Exactly, yeah. Anytime that you see the speed characters just walking under somersault barriers, it's the same effect being used, just exploiting the shorter hitbox that the game is actually applying. So hopefully we're going to have a second time lucky for Meltrs to get through White Jungle, and then of course Sonic 1. Aura, meanwhile, is on Route 280. Route 280 is a very long driving stage, though, like almost 3 minutes long, so as long as Meltrs has a relatively straightforward dash towards the goal ring from here, should still be able to be on Route 280 in the same time as Aura is.
Oh no!
Meltrs really seems to be struggling just with movement more than anything else here, because he's actually had a lot of very close deaths just from missing just different objects and different places that you specifically need to be.
Is he going for the light?
It looks like it, yeah.
He's going for the air shoes.
Interesting. Alright, well, yeah, if you ever wanted to find where the air shoes are, there they are. And what? Now he's taking a death, okay.
Which was... I'm not sure what he's doing here. But all these resets, and that death was clearly intentional. I don't agree with these things. And he spin dash jumps anyways? I'm not clear here.
I mean, I'm gonna just assume that we can take this as Meltrs has stopped trying, but I hope...
Yeah.
Well, I guess this was a fun race.
Yeah, so I suppose all it is Aura needs to finish his race, or finish his run. But I would take this as a forfeit on Meltrs' side, but he hasn't explicitly said something.
I mean, it's very clearly going to cost the race. So.
Yeah.
So Aura is just about finishing up with Route 280 here. And this is looking like it's going to be like a 252, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. That's a 251.
No, that was a 252, I believe.
Nah, the timer doesn't work correctly in these stages.
Oh, God, you're right.
There you go, low 251. I've got no idea why the timer behaves like that in the karting stages, but it does. It reads almost a full second higher than what you actually get at the end of the stage. And since the auto splitter and in-game timer we use is tied directly to the like the in-game time values that you get from the game memory, it confirms that the time shown at the end of the stage on the results screen is the correct one, the time that gets slightly subtracted. I don't know how it works, but it apparently does work.
Yeah, also our auto splitter tends to take a death in Route 280 as you finishing the stage. So I've definitely seen a few gold splits that were complete and utter lies due to dying like maybe 2 minutes in. But we have Skyrail here, which is the fastest stage in the game. Can be easily sub 50'd if you can play it right. And he's already nearly at. Ooh, that was close. He's nearly already at the end of the stage.
Yeah, there's been a couple of very near misses in this stage though. Like Skyrail is as short as it is. There's quite a lot of risk involved.
Yeah, it can definitely be a lethal stage. It's not typically a significant time loss due to the sheer shortness of the stage, but you can definitely find yourself compounding mistakes in this stage by racking up deaths from nearly missing things. But we have Eggman's Egg Golem here. The whole goal of this boss here for any runners to try to hit Egg Golem's left arm, that's his left, not your left, with the Vulcan Cannon, because for some reason the left arm takes much more damage than just hitting the main chassis of the Golem, which as you can see opens up the chest pieces. But Egg Golem is taken care of pretty swiftly.
So Aura's going to be coming up here on the final RNG stage of the run. It's one of, I suppose you could maybe call it an advantage that Dark Story has over Hero Story if you want, that Knuckles has 5 stages to play, but Rouge only has 4 stages. So there's less opportunities in Dark Story for the RNG to completely screw you over, I suppose. But those opportunities are, in my opinion, correspondingly worse. Like Security Hole is really, really bad, and this stage, Mad Space, can also be really bad. This stage is incredibly open. There's a lot of traveling you can do, so you can just be forced to do a lot of movement in the first place. And even when you know exactly how to do the movement correctly, the hints in this stage are less than helpful sometimes. The first hint that you're going to get for each piece is displayed backwards, and the second hint that you get for each piece blatantly lies about where the hint location is, so you need to essentially try and do the opposite, or go to the opposite spot of where the second hint is telling you where to go.
Yes, so like the second hint there said, I think both in mirror speak and also was a blatantly lying monitor, said the top of the capsule. It actually meant the bottom of the capsule. You have to invoke, as I like to say, you have to invoke your inner child when you play this stage. When the hint monitors tell you to absolutely do not do this thing, don't listen to it. Just do the thing.
Coming out with a 114, like, not the fastest Mad Space that you can get away with, obviously, but
I consider that pretty average, if you're picking up the Iron Boots like he did, so I would accept a 114.
It could certainly be worse.
But we have
Hang on, did Aura get an emblem cutscene there, or is this a new game plus file?
I'm not entirely sure. Unless he's using ESG emblem skip glitch due to it being IGT.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, that's true.
I think that's what's happening here. We'll find out after Cosmic Wall for sure. I think it should be ESG because they're using IGT, so ESG wouldn't make any difference here.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually, now that I think of it. So that's all of Rouge done in this run, actually. That was the last Rouge stage, and then it was followed up with the last Rouge boss, which is a very quick and simple affair. So we're now that the Rouge segment is done, it's now the end of the Eggman segment, because Cosmic Wall is Eggman's final stage, followed up with Eggman's final boss, Tails 2. Cosmic Wall has very different physics and mechanics to the rest of Eggman's gameplay throughout this game, where previously we try and exploit hover jumping as much as possible. But
Absolutely.
It's not possible in Cosmic Wall because of the low gravity. The low gravity affects your jumps, and then the hover itself simply behaves differently in this stage. Like, rather than having the intended hover effect, it will instead force you to rise a specific height at a specific speed from the time that you trigger it, regardless of whatever your current momentum is whenever you trigger it. So the way that we typically use the hover in this stage is to wait until you reach the peak of your jump and then trigger it. Aura is not attempting the fastest skip possible in this stage, known as tower skip. I'm expecting that he's just going to do what we call Russian skip here. Yeah, he's getting in position. So he's using one of these skips at least, taking a specific path once he breaks out of bounds here to make sure he gets a good camera. And he is... This looks like he's just... Oh no, I thought he was going for the regular skip, but he was just making sure to avoid all the kill planes here. I hope he hasn't gone too far to the left, though, as there is a kill plane on the left side that he needs to avoid as well. So, looking at this angle, it looks like he should be good.
Yeah, it looks like he should be okay. I hope you like space, folks, because you're about to endure about 3 minutes of it. 2.5, 3 minutes.
This is faster, trust me.
Yes, so what's happening here is he did manage to break out of bounds. And as you're flying through space, you're not just holding forward. What you have to worry about around you is some visual cues to be able to judge where you are in the stage, because there are invisible kill planes all around you. If you accidentally fly into one of them, that can be a significant time loss, especially if you fail to hit the checkpoint right before the spot where we do the clip out for Russian skip. But it looks like he's A-okay, as he does have that tower coming into view. And we should see the what would be the drill tunnel on the final monorail section if you were playing casually or using a different version of the skip. And that more or less signifies that you are good to go. But there are still, I think if you went significantly left or right, there would be kill planes. But I haven't messed around enough with the skip to find out. But it is at this point just a matter of getting to the final platform where the goal ring is and actually hitting the goal ring. I have seen someone completely miss the goal ring and had to do it all over again.
It is possible, yeah. I mean, it's something that should never happen because it is very, very easy to miss the goal ring, but I suppose if you're just paying enough attention, it can happen. Just pay attention when you're in this section and it should never happen.
Yeah, while we are flying through space, I will note that if you walk past the goal ring, what looks like it should be a solid platform is actually completely false. You'll fall right through. Because I was curious, I was like, is there just an invisible wall blocking you from going down the tunnel, which is just a scenery piece? No, there's just absolutely nothing there. It's all just textures. But small fun fact about the stage aside, we have Meltrs finally out of White Jungle after finding all the hidden animals. But beyond that, it's just a matter of being able to get through Final Chase or actually getting through Tails 2, who I often forget about.
Which is ironic. I mean, Tails 2 is not exactly the most forgettable boss in this speedrun. It's actually one of the more challenging boss fights in this speedrun.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because Tails has a shiny new laser.
Yeah, I've definitely seen this fight even kill attempts at fairly high skill levels, where some of the more forefront Dark Runners have definitely lost runs to this boss before. Tails is very aggressive, as he is in the first fight, but the laser that Amber mentioned will basically kill you in 2 hits.
That's absolutely correct. There we go. I've seen some runners, myself included, when I was still early into running this game, make the mistake of trying to avoid that laser while being very far away from Tails. Tails doesn't turn very fast when he's using that laser, so it's much better to be closer to him and just wrap around him as he's charging up to fire that laser. But you'll probably get caught otherwise. But we have Final Chase coming up here. This stage has its own gimmick, which is the notorious gravity tubes, which I'm not entirely sure the developers were planning for these gravity tubes to be as insufferable as they can be. They have a very strong, sometimes weak, it's very hard to tell, gravity field around them that drags Shadow in. And sometimes that field doesn't quite catch on as you'd think. And
I don't think Aura's going to make that. Oh,
he barely made it. We typically take that jump with a what we call a pause hover. Draco, you are far better explaining hover frames with these hedgehogs than I am. If you don't mind just explaining that very briefly.
Alright, well I guess that when you press A to perform a jump, obviously, and a jump makes you rise, but the jumping animation and the actual rising effect from when you get a jump are 2 different properties. The actual height that you get off a jump is determined by what we call your hover frames. Every time you jump, you have 60 frames of hover, which will simply make you rise as you're holding the A button. So you don't necessarily need to keep that A button held down after you initiate a jump. And if you get a lot of horizontal speed while you're in the jumping animation, you can then exploit pausing the game and unpausing by holding the A button to reinitiate holding the A button before those 60 frames have expired, which will then essentially cause you to float through the air almost entirely horizontally, and it massively augments your jump distance. You can't just do that by pressing A again while you're jumping, otherwise you'll do a homing attack, which is why we exploit using the pause screen to be able to do that. And it can also be used from just a neutral spin dash from holding the A button before you release the B button to use what we call a spin dash hover, which is, again, it just augments your distance after you fly off a ledge.
Oh, Aura, no!
Aura. Okay, he's got lives and he got a checkpoint, it's fine. That's like about 10 seconds per death every time this happens. I mean, he's not in danger of losing at this point.
Yeah, not by any means, although...
He does need to be careful not to game over, though, I suppose.
Yeah. So we have, there we go.
Yeah, it looks like he's just not bothering this time. A pretty wise decision, honestly. There's absolutely nothing on the line now, and this method is significantly safer than going for the trick that he was just attempting.
There we go. He just broke free of the gravity field by holding up left to be able to just fall straight to the goal ring. It's a significantly safer strat than what he was attempting earlier, which involves invoking some skewed gravity with a spin dash hover to be able to reach the bottom of that gravity tube descent. All he has to do is he's 5 hits away from finishing the run here on Sonic 2. It's a fairly simplistic boss fight, but you do have to be able to time your homing attack chains correctly.
Yeah, at a decently high level, though, this is more or less a static 16-second fight, unless you get some faulty collision causing low homing attack bounces. So I'm expecting to see Aura be done pretty much any second now. This is going to be like around about a 29-minute run by IGT, which suggests that with Emblem Skip, this is probably around like a 37, 38? Something around there?
That's what I would expect. Although it looks like we've lost Aura's feed.
I think so. The fact that he's in the chat though suggests that he is done. And
oh yeah, there you go. Skip to the boss fight entirely.
There you go. And we do have a finish time in the SRL race room, at least. Like I thought, it was a 38:37 by RTA with the emblem skip glitch, saving approximately 2 minutes.
But that there is Sonic Adventure 2's Dark Story, and that means Aura goes on to face someone at some point in the next round. I'm not sure, does that put Meltrs into losers, or as this is a double elimination format?
Assuming that this is still part of the winners bracket, it will do. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if this match is part of winners or losers bracket.
But what do we have coming up later tonight? I know you've submitted for commentary for a number of runs tonight.
I think it was just this one and the one that was meant to be 2 hours ago that I submitted for.
Okay. We have Deja versus Aura winner bracket match. Okay. So that will be later on tonight on one of the SpeedGaming channels. But we do have the runners here in the Discord. It looks like they might want to do an interview.
I mean, if they're up for it.
Let me see if they are down for it. Oh, here we go.
Go home. Oh, hey.
Hello.
Hey, Aura. Hey, Meltrs.
Hey, guys.
How you all feeling right now?
I'm feeling amazing.
I have to ask Meltrs, what happened? Like, we did see some very questionable choices there in Flying Dog. What went through your mind there?
Flying Dog? That's... Oh, it's usually faster for me, because I always mess up the... Like, if I don't get the manipulation down, it's like... It's worth it for me to reset, because I'm just... I'm really bad at the fight normally.
I think y'all, both of you, just need to work on Flying Dog a bit then, because I was mentioning, like, during commentary, it's not actually objectively faster to reset the fight at all. Like, if you miss the first fast hit, it is not faster to reset the fight.
You lose,
That's
like,
fair.
At least 10 seconds, right? It's like, I don't know how to go through that fight if I fail it.
Oh yeah, RTA it's faster for sure.
It's still faster by IGT to not reset the fight.
I don't know what to do afterward though.
You just do the same strat but in the opposite corner.
Yeah, that is correct. You can still do the AI manipulation even if you miss that first hit, or even miss the first out-of-bounds hit in the first corner. That's a congrats to our winner here, Aura. How do you feel about the race? Because you had excellent RNG in Security Hall. Oh my goodness.
God, yeah, that was... wow.
Like, that was...
Glad I didn't have to open any safes, but my controller didn't really feel like spiral up ring though. So I had to like go around and climb up and That could have been like at least a 45 or 40 or something, but got a 55.
Yeah, the execution aside, that RNG was far better than what I was expecting out of any security hall. To be able to sit there and not have to change safe colors or anything like that, or not have any safe pieces, definitely very nice. I have a question for you, Meltrs. Did you know that there are 10 animals hidden in Wild Jungle? A Wild Jungle? White Jungle.
Wild Jungle, wow.
Well, I don't know what stage Wild Jungle is, but
I don't know what stage that is either.
Just as soon as I hit White Jungle, I'm just like, in my head I forfeited. It's just I didn't want to like, I wanted to give a good show. Like I didn't want to like do nothing on the screen, so might as well drop some knowledge, I guess. Because there's no way I was winning after a game over.
That is fair. It is possible you could have pulled it out with RNG, but at that point in the run, I with only mad space left, it'd be questionable at best.
Yeah, mad space wouldn't help me no matter what.
But
I was really nervous because when I was looking at his stream and I noticed I had a better sand ocean that I got first cycle. I don't know what cycle he had or had, but
2.
You actually did get first cycle.
I
or
got the first
cycle
part
2.
of first cycle, and then
yeah.
I don't know. My movement on the little spinny thing was pretty sketchy, and I didn't feel like going for the jump with no checkpoint.
Yeah, because I did see you skip that checkpoint, which was not something I would have done by far, but the second cycle was just perfectly fine if you're trying to avoid a death there.
So it also wasn't until basically halfway through the runs that I actually noticed that emblem skip glitch was actually active, and I assume that that was the case simply because the race was being timed by IGT, and that was intended to level the loading time difference between you guys, if I'm correct?
Yeah, we were originally going to do that before IGT. Just let him do it because his loads are worse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's quite a significant time save for one player.
Yeah,
I figured it was just like much easier, like to not worry about the hassle of RTA, like who's gonna gain more time, who's at a disadvantage. So let's just do our IGT to not have to worry about that mess.
Yeah, which I can understand that decision for sure.
Alright, done.
But definitely see you trying to put melon skip on.
I mean, it actually finished my splits. I don't know why. I could have won.
We did mention in the commentary, for some reason, with our auto splitter, whenever you die in Route 280, the game considers you have finished the stage, even if you really didn't.
I think I can bring it back.
But any other thoughts that either of our runners here would like to add to the race, or even to the run as a whole?
I don't know. I don't really have anything.
Fair enough. Meltrs, any words of wisdom?
I don't have any words of wisdom.
Just words of animals?
Yeah, words of animals. Go for the small animals. I don't know.
Alright.
I don't know who I'm facing here. I know Aura's gonna face stage next.
Good luck.
Yeah, definitely good luck to you, Aura, in the next winner bracket match against Stage tonight. And Meltrs, good luck on making your way through the losers bracket as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
But that's gonna be it for us, I believe. We have other matches later on. The tournament's still going for sure. Be sure to follow these runners. Meltrs has excellent stream titles. Definitely recommend. Aura's a great runner as well. Thank you to Draco for commentating with me. Definitely could not do it without you.
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
And again, my name is Amber Cyprin. I run primarily this category as well. Definitely watch these other guys. But I'm gonna hop off. You'll have a great rest of your day. And thanks for watching.